number 11. Annual car production in the United States from 1910 to 1925. So the year, number of cars produced, number of companies producing cars. So the years is mentioned here. 1910, 123,990 cars, and the companies is 320. 1915, 548,139 cars and 224 companies. 1,651,625 cars and companies has decreased 197. 1925, 3,185,881 cars and only 80 companies. So a student is using the table as part of a social studies class presentation on the US auto industry in the early 20th century. So the student notes that according to the table from 1910 to 1925 blank, which choice most effectively uses data from the table to complete the statement? So is it A, the number of cars produced increased but the number of companies producing cars decreased? B, both the number of cars produced and the number of companies producing cars remained unchanged. C, the number of cars produced decreased but the number of companies producing cars remained unchanged. Or D, both the number of cars produced and the number of companies producing cars increased. So which is the correct answer? So we can already see that the number of cars being produced is increasing. So the numbers 123,990 is less than this 3,185,881, and whereas the number of companies 320 is greater and 80 is less. So definitely answer choice A is correct. Choice A is the best answer because it most effectively uses data from the table to complete the statement about the US auto industry in the early 20th century. So the table shows the number of cars produced annually and the number of companies producing cars in the United States between 1910 and 1925 in increments of 5 years. According to the table, the number of cars produced consistently increased from one increment to the next, going from 123,990 cars in 1910 to 3,185,881 cars in 1925. At the same time, the table shows that the number of companies which are producing these cars, that is consistently decreasing. It's going from 320 companies in 1910 to only 80 companies in 1925. So thus the table shows that the number of cars produced increased from 1910 to 1925, even as the number of companies producing the cars that decreased. And B is incorrect because the table indicates that the number of companies producing cars consistently decreased from 1910 to 1925, going from 320 to only 80. And C is incorrect because the table indicates that the number of cars produced consistently increased from 1910 to 1925, going from 123,990 cars to 3,185,881 cars instead of decreasing. Moreover, the table shows that the number of companies producing cars from 1910 to 1925 declined from 320 to 80 instead of remaining unchanged. So both the things are wrong mentioned in answer choice C. And D is incorrect, and the table also shows that the number of companies producing cars, they decreased from 320 to 80 instead of remaining unchanged. Here D is saying both the number of cars produced and the number of companies producing cars. The number of companies producing cars did not increase. They decreased in fact. So you can see that's why answer choice A is the best. So this is quite easy actually. You just have to look at the table and easily decide about it.